Hi everybody, it's Amy at Crafty Cat. Today, by request, we're going to do some watercoloring. And I have taken a photocopy, like what are these called again? Of a Edith Holden book page. So just photocopied it on my printer. And then I've just taken a portion of it and put it on a piece of watercolor paper and then outlined it with one of my little fine tip pens. This one's Sharpie and it doesn't even say what size it is. So just some type of fine tip permanent black pen works fine. It can even be like, got little fuzz gel, like one of these gel things works too. But anyway, so the way you do that, we've done it before, but if you're new to watching me do the watercolor thing, you just take a photocopy of whatever. It doesn't have to be leaves. Color on the back using just a regular old pencil. Number 2 is what I've got here, just to cover it in the lead, you know, and then put it onto your watercolor paper. I'm just putting it onto copy paper to give you an idea of how this works. And then when you trace around the image, it will show up on the other side because it's just working like carbon paper. If you have carbon paper, you can use carbon paper. You don't have to do it this way. I just don't have any carbon paper. So, but you can see it's very light. So, you know, that could be a little tricky, but it does show up. So it gives you a good idea. Then I traced it all in the black ink, and this is where I kind of do freedom of how you want to do it. So I have not completely connected all the lines, and some of them are a little more squiggly maybe, and you can see I set my leaves up differently because this is the big one here and then this one over here. But then I decided I wanted this little one up here over here. So I haven't copied the image perfectly the way it is on here. I've done my own version, I guess you could say. It's just a nice starting point to have a photocopy to trace because, like, I don't know if you're like I am or whatever, but I'm not great with scale and then, you know, exactly where it goes just by looking at it. It's just way easier to trace it, and then you can do your own thing after that. You don't have to do the colors the way she did the colors. You can, but just kind of have fun with it, you know, and make it your own. So that's what I did. And then I have my piece O paper here, and this is this watercolor paper that I use, and that's Master's Touch. I get it at Hobby Lobby, but you can get yours wherever you like to get your art supplies. 140 pound, 300 GSM. And I like it. It works fine for me. I'm not a professional watercolorist by any stretch of the imagination. I mostly end up giving them as gifts to family members or whatever, you know. So it's more just something that I enjoy doing. I find it very relaxing. And yeah, it's fun. Oh, it's a little crooked. It doesn't really matter, but just try to kind of get it straight. And I just cut the piece of paper to the size I thought would work with those leaves. It doesn't, again, doesn't matter. Do it your own way, however you like. Those are just the tips I have for maybe, you know, making the transfer of the image onto your watercolor paper a little bit easier. This washi I got at Collage Soup. She sent it to me to show y'all. So that's where that comes from, if you're wondering. Washi's great for watercolor because you can peel it off of the watercolor paper fairly easily. A few times I have had it get a little more stuck than I might have wanted it. You can also use painter's tape and all those kind of things. I'm just going to use that, and that is fine with me. Then I have an 8-round paintbrush, and I don't remember where I got this. Oh, this is Arteza. It says right on it, Amy. It's an Arteza paintbrush. So yeah. So we can get started. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have to pause and grab another thing of water. I always forget I need a clean water and a dirty water spot. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I told myself and I still forgot. I like to have a dirty water jar or glass or whatever, and then a clean water glass, because sometimes you need to add a little water somewhere and you don't want to add a color to it, you know. So anyway, I'm just gonna put a little color, this would be water, on there, and we'll get started. So how is everybody? I hope that you guys are all doing fantastic. I'm well. Kids are well. Everybody's well right now. Thank goodness. Since school and all is in full swing, it's no good to be sick. So yeah, I'm very happy that they're doing well. And then I have not done this in so long, I am not going to make any promises. Because, you know, it's one of those things, if you don't do it for a long time, you kind of lose your, whatever, the flow and all. We're just going to put some of this coppery kind of color. And I did add a little bit of the sparkle to it because, I don't know, I like that with the fall colors. And I'm just using a kind of a, not super expensive, it was actually a gift to me, but it's just a big palette of colors. So you can use whatever kind of watercolors you like. I like Arteza watercolors. I like these, and I can't remember what they're called because, again, it's just been forever. I'll try to remember to link them in the description box in case it's something that you're interested in. So yeah. I did not walk this morning. I did do a YouTube walking video. Had a little incident yesterday, and that just made me not really want to jump right back out there this morning. So I was walking, and a drone came right up behind me, and by right up behind me, I mean I probably could have turned around and grabbed it if I'd have been fast enough. So when I turned around, it turned around and went the other direction. And then pretty soon I could hear it again. And I looked up, and it was much higher, but it was just kind of following along, almost sort of behind me. So I looked right at it, and then I did not notice it again after that. That kind of stuff creeps me out. Why do people do stuff like that? I don't understand that. Because even if you're just messing around, you know, thinking you're funny or whatever, I don't think a lot of people realize being a woman can be a little bit terrifying. Because, you know, we've all heard the stories. So, I don't know. I wish people would not do stuff like that. And it could just be nothing and harmless and whatever, but it's just weird. Don't do it if, you know what I'm saying? That's weird. So anyways, and it is spreading out a little bit because of spritzing the water, but I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, you might not want to do the spritzing thing, because obviously that's going to make that color move wherever the water is, basically. And I'm just kind of again, I am not a professional watercolorist, so I just like to play around. I love messing with the colors and trying different things with them and stuff. So yeah, I just play, really. It's really a relaxing playtime. Very much like collage in a lot of ways. It sort of has the same effect on my psyche. It's just relaxing, and I like it. I just want a little bit of brown in some spots. And see, she did her leaves much more green and all of that, and that's totally fine. If you want to do it like the picture, then you can definitely do that. But sometimes I just like to... It's sort of like the Somerset Studio thing. I just like to do my own take, and I encourage you to do the same. What was this one? So yeah, I do. It does get very zen. I feel like when I do this. Now I probably won't even end up using that. Kind of got too much color right there. That is something you can do. Keep a dry paper towel, because you saw me blot, but also you can lift color off of your piece, which also works great. I'm going to put a little more water there because I kind of boo-booed, so that'll just help the color bleed out naturally instead of being like you messed up. All the little tricks, right, that you can use. Yeah, I haven't done this since the last time I did it with you guys, so it's been, I think, over a year. Well, close, maybe about a year. So yeah, it's just kind of weird to be doing it again, but I do love it. Those videos just weren't very popular. Not very many people liked them or watched them or whatever. So it was kind of like I had to move on, basically. And I intended to do it every once in a while. It's just time gets away from you, and there's always so much to do. So yeah, I'm just adding a little gold, so they'll be a little shiny. But yeah, so that was a bummer, because then that made me not want to get up and walk this morning. I just don't get it. But other than that, we're all doing well. Just cruising along. This weekend, like I mentioned, my daughter's gonna march, so thank you to all of you who said, you know, you're glad to hear she was gonna march. She does miss it. I mean, you know, it's not like she's been away from it for a super long time, but it was kind of hard for her this fall, because where she lives, she can hear the band practicing, and like when they were at band camp and all that. She even went and saw some of her friends that are still there during band camp. But yeah, so she's excited to go hang out and see everybody this weekend. Get to play again. Those probably aren't quite so green at this time of the year, are they? The little bud things. Because they're done doing their thing. If you get too much, just use the little edge of your paper towel. Words. This is one of those things that sucks my brain out of my head, because it's not autopilot. I have to kind of think a lot more when I do this type of thing. So unfortunately, you're probably not going to get a lot of coherent conversation out of me. I'm so bad. Sometimes I read comments and I have to like really think about what I talked about. Because a lot of the time, you know, when you're doing these type of things, your brain's working on what you're doing. And sometimes my mouth is just blabbing away and I'm not really thinking about what I'm saying. It's an interesting thing to try to create and talk at the same time. I appreciate you guys very much because you're always very kind with any of my ramblings. So I appreciate it. Now, do I know? Yes, I know that probably on the same tree, I mean, you get variations in color, but you're probably not going to get like this drastic. Usually they all kind of turn a very similar color, obviously. But I'm just enjoying the autumn feel. And yeah, they do go through, you know, I guess you could call them phases of color change, but and you also don't have to, you know, go into every little spot in the leaf. It can be a little more loose, and that's just however you like it. Because some watercolor obviously is super detailed, and then others are much more loose. And you just have to find what you like. Then you can also, you know, do this, let it dry. Oh, why did I do that? Come back, put it in the clean water like a dingling, and add more color in spots. That's also, you know, to get some layering going. And that can work fantastic. If you want them to look older, like this one right here, probably I will. It's got some dark spots, so you can decide if you want them to be, you know, look like they're decaying. And then also something to remember with watercolor is they dry lighter than what they appear on, you know, when you paint them. So that's something to think about. I like the way it blades out when it, the color. See, the brain checks out. Add a little of this yellow in here. Yes, it's very zen, I must say. Got a little yellow in that spot, but that's okay. And then the color from that one's going to come into this one. But you can stop that. If you don't want that to happen, then let that one dry before you start that one. And then you won't get as much of that transfer. I'm feeling the loosey-goosey effect today, so I'm not going to stress about those kind of things. I mean, for that to have that much red, I got a little carried away. Okay, this one's almost dry, and I think I want to add a little bit more color to it. I kind of just push the color around, and you probably noticed that. I'm sure I do all manner of things wrong, but nobody's ever taught me, so it's like all the other stuff I do. I just do it. Yeah, sorry, not very chatty. It takes my concentration. Trying not to stick my hand in the bottom leaf. That's why I've got this weird sideways thing happening. Now, if you tape to glass, which I have done that, and I forgot until just now, but you can, or some other type of base, you can move it around. Just put that in the clean water again. What is my deal? I put a little bit of this darker brown around this where it's got that hole. And there's other holes right here, or maybe not holes, but you know, like it's starting to turn brown. I might even just add a little bit on the other ones. Because they do get those little, almost like little moldy spots or something on them. Can I add just a little bit more of like a kind of a lighter yellow? In with that golden yellow. Don't know what I want to do. Messed up my bristles. This is just gold, so you're probably not going to see a whole lot until it dries, and then you see a little bit more of the shine. And it'll warm it a little bit. It's a beautiful day again today. It's supposed to get kind of hot this weekend though, again. I mean, not awful, but up in the 80s. Oh, some of you have been telling me about your hurricane experiences. Oh my goodness. I just am so sorry, y'all. That is terrifying to me. And not having water and electricity and all those things. Ugh. And those storms, the way they just come in and take out people's homes and businesses and everything. It's just, it's awful. But I don't know what. It's just hard because there's so many more people now, and I think that's why they seem so much more devastating. I mean, I'm no expert, so I don't know, but. Okay, I think I might get this dry, and then we'll come back and take a second look at it and figure out where it needs what. All right, I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So my tape doesn't want to stick anymore because the paper's starting to, you know how it does, warp a little bit. This is not obviously super expensive watercolor paper, so that's something to think about if you, you know, if you do this and you want to, I don't know, have them so they don't warp like that, then you need a more expensive paper. But I feel like it can also be put under something. And again, I am not a pro, so if I got to the point where I was selling them and doing all those kind of things, then I would probably worry about that more. But all right, so I'm taking more of an orangey orange. I'm going to add it to these. Just because I think it needs a little more oomph of color in some spots. This could just end up being a hot mess because I haven't done it so long, so we'll see. Oh, if you guys want to see a fun couple of Halloween journals, you should go over to Carol Law's channel if you haven't already seen them. She did a couple of, finished up some journals that she started last Halloween because she's having trouble with her printers, so she hasn't been able to print some papers that she's wanted to use. So she was finishing up some things that needed to get finished, and they turned out so cool. So thank you, Carol. She's so sweet. She's such a good friend. But yeah, those journals are amazing. I mean, she just always does amazing work, so not that I'm surprised. It was a fun surprise to see him because I didn't even know she was working on him, so that was awesome. Too much brown. But yeah, definitely hop over there and check them out because they're very cool. Now I'm like, I need to print out some of the pictures from that kit and use them in this journal that I'm working on right now because they're those old daguerreotypes. Those are real photos. The images, the people in that are not AI. Because at the time I did that digital, the AI, the people were just weird looking, like they didn't even I mean, I still a lot of times have to fix things when I try to get people, but they were really bad. So, but I found those daguerreotypes that year, and yeah, those were cool. It's amazing how fast that AI has improved. It's kind of creepy, actually, but it's great for people who do what I do, because like I've said, I can draw, but there's, you know, there's a limit for sure. So, yeah. And what's available in the public domain is not, there's just not very much, because you have to wait so many years for that to change and stuff, for things to be available, which is understandable. It just gives a lot more freedom for all of that. I didn't like the color that was. I keep getting too much water. Need to wipe my brush off. I'm just very lightly touching this paper. Still too much water. Just to add little bits of color here and there. Well, that was some real phooey painting right there. So yeah, I guess all I can say is just, you know, play around with it. And just figure out what you like. And there's a lot of stuff that I've painted. Well, even this I'm not totally sure about yet, but anyway. And I've been like, no, that can go away. It just happens. Some things turn out great and you're like, oh, that's so great, I love it. And other things it's just like, what was I thinking? So yeah, it's like everything. You gotta train your brain. Always training the brain. Oh, gold. Then I think what I'm gonna do is come back and go over a lot of those lines, because now that I've added color and color and color, I feel like they've sort of gone back into the background, which that's what happens. So if you want them to pop back out, just go over them again. All right, I'm gonna get this dry again. I just want a little bit more. maybe a little more, like, struggling today to get my paintbrush to do what I want. Okay, I'll be back again. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna come in a little bit closer. And then I'm gonna take my same Sharpie that I used to outline it in the first place. And I'm just gonna go back over some things and maybe add like even a few more lines to say the bark here and whatnot. Just for a little added. And I am clearly not, you know, trying to get perfect lines here. I'm just kind of almost scribbling. And you can come out away from your color as well. And this is where it's really gonna become something different than like what Edith Holden did. You know, because I'm not Edith Holden, for one. And yeah, it's just gonna add to your painting. And you don't have to do it at all. Like, you could just do the pencil marks and do all the fine details and painting and all that by hand. You don't have to even outline it all. I just find that it gives you some nice detail that you can see. But like a purist, obviously, watercolorist is probably not going to do as much of this. But since I'm, you know, a novice, basically, I feel like I want to do that. I'm going to kind of just color that hole or mark in. But you can do it however you like. That's what makes it your art and not mine. For one thing, my hands don't do perfect lines. I mean, every once in a while I'll shock myself, but for the most part, with that trimmer, it just happens whenever, so I get what I get. Don't throw a fit, right? And I did a squiggly there, which you guys have seen me do if you've watched me watercolor for a while. I mean, I can do the total trace, which is what I did in the first place, and that just takes a lot of concentration. I just like this look anyway. It's a little janky and haphazard. My pen's starting to not wanna. It's the paint. They don't love the paint. I know I keep turning and turning and turning. It's because I can't decide where to go next. To keep getting the paint off the pen. Okay, that's better to me. And then I want to add some splatters, because those are just fun. Why not? I think we'll just go with kind of some brown. Let's see, what do I want? Sometimes there's too many options, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to worry about covering any faces. That's new. And maybe a little gold. I don't think that's thin enough. It's not wanting to show up, so I'm going to go with kind of add a little coppery to it. Okay, so Edith Holden was my inspiration, but as you can see, it's very different. And when it dries, I'll sign it, but for now, that is that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did. It's always very relaxing for me. So, yeah, thanks for joining me if you watched all the way through, and I will... Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to say hugs and blessings. I am so sorry. I got so enthralled. Hugs and blessings to Nancy, Nikki, and Wendy. Love you guys. Thank you so much for always kind comments and watching all of it. And I will chat with you guys soon. Love you. Bye.